use of English language. Books. Books are the quietest and most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and wisest of counselors and the most patient of teachers. Pab, pick a book. It inspires changes. Indeed, that's true. It's an impactful movement which connects with readers' community, I should say, and grows towards progress. 1,000 plus members globally, 100,000 lives inspired, 500 plus book presentations, and its presence is in Sri Lanka, India, Singapore, and UK. Now, I would like to invite Aman Soni, an architecture student from Nagpur University. He believes architecture is something which has a story behind to cherish. I would like to invite Aman Soni to come on the front stage, please.
Hello, a very
Hi,
good
Aman.
morning, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
Hello.
So there was a very interesting line which I came to know. In fact, it's a very interesting quote. For you, Aman, reading is an open meditation. So what
Yes.
Aman says is reading is an open meditation for him. So wow,
Uh,
that's a great thing to begin with.
yes,
Now
ma'am.
I would like to invite another avid reader, Dr. Mona Shroff from Surat. She is MD in obstetrics and gynecology from MS University, Baroda. She's founder, member, and chairperson at PAB Surat. She's currently working as clinical director and senior productive medicine and IVF consultant at Nova Fertility Surat. And she's presented at various national and international conferences. She's written papers and chapters for various academic books. An avid reader who rekindled the love of reading in last couple of years. So welcome once again, Dr. Mona. I'm so glad
Hello,
to
good
be a
evening,
part of this
everyone.
platform.
Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, to begin with, I would like to just maybe just general things I would like to ask you about. How do you select a book when it has to go for a book, Dr. Mona?
So, selecting in terms of reading, yes, I mean, it would depend upon the mood and the need of that time. And also, I can describe books as a dinner and as a breakfast.
Oh, wow,
So, when you have short
a good
time, and
metaphor.
yeah, so when you have short time and you just want to, go through stuff and just I mean, you just want to take a break from your work or anything, it's about short stories or poems or something like that. And
Something,
when you are in that serious mode, you go for deeper books.
right. So every mood, and the best part is every mood, there is a book to cater to.
Yes, perfect.
What
And
about you,
every
Aman?
book, yeah.
Sorry.
Uh, so I like reading because I'm very fond of to know something about that author and how he writes the things for the other person as well as for himself. So when I was in fifth standard, very young, so I was in hostel. So I don't know, we don't have any mobile, any electronic devices at that time. So we used to go library, and at that time we used to read Tintin adventures and all that stuff. So I got to know about other books, that novels and all, from that library also only. So I start reading and reading. When I came to in my 12th standard, I describe I want to explore myself and I want to develop myself. So I started using the self-help books to groom myself. So till now, from the 12th and the 5th year of architecture, I'm only reading the self-help book, and I'm enjoying a lot. So the Think Like a Monk is one of them, and I love this book, and I will share some ideas that how I develop
Yeah,
my good
we would,
things from the book.
we would definitely want you to share about that. But first, I would also like to know that what can be challenging about reading, Dr. Mona? What could be, according to you, what would be the challenge that you think that could be about reading? If someone
Motivation.
wants to start, yeah, motivation.
So,
Aman?
getting motivating yourself.
For me, it's a meditation because I do meditation, and whatever I feel after the meditation, I feel the same when I'm reading. So yeah.
So as a person who's from English language, and I'm taking care of English language in terms of an academy here in Jaipur. So I'm getting very good metaphors from both of you: breakfast, dinner, meditation. So that's amazing. So who's your favorite author of all time till now?
Till now, for me, it's Sudhamurti ji, because I just completed the 3000 stitches, and the way she writes, and I have attended some webinar, not webinar, from YouTube videos, and I love the way she present the things. So, Sudhamurti ji.
And what about you, Dr. Mona?
So, amongst the Indian authors, I too agree with Aman. I love Sudha Murthy ji as a person and as a writer and as a female, everything. And
Okay.
amongst my first, from the childhood, if you see, I loved Enid Blyton and everything about her.
We
But
all must have, we all have gone through that phase where we read.
so, as I grew, I became more fond of Dr. Wayne Dyer. So
Okay.
he is one of the self-help authors, which was I read him for the first time as
Okay.
I was going through those phases of life.
Mm.
Okay.
So it
So that
gave
means those
good.
have changed your life in a way. That's what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah. And I completely agree with it, because self-help books and motivation books, they really change your life. They change the entire perspective of, things happening around. So one last question on general reading that's very interesting. That has a book ever made you laugh out loud? Something in the book that made you laugh out loud.
Um,
I think for me, I read with my kids,
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's this author Dan Gutman, and
Yes.
his books of weird school series. So
Okay.
we cuddle among the blankets and we keep laughing while we read those books.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So it's like kind of a stress buster too.
yes.
Yeah. So Aman, just tell me something about the book.
think like a monk.
Yes.
Okay, so think like why I picked this book, because when I get to know about the Jay Shetty, who's the author of the book, I get to know about that he went to the ashram, which is meant to be for the monks, and he want to be a monk. That's why he wrote this book. But after that, he went that ashram and get all the knowledge and converted himself into a monk. Then he realized that by converting himself monk, not going to change anything to the world. So how he can convert his knowledge, and he can convey the powerful knowledge that he contained from that ashram, how he will spread to the world. So he came up with the idea of the think like a monk, and he wrote this book. That's why I picked this book. And there is a
Okay.
one beautiful quote that I want to share, that you don't have to think like a monk to live like a monk. You just have to think like a monk and live like you. So I like that quote.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. So let me just put up some questions, and I will come to you a little later. Dr. Mona, can you tell us about the book that you have chosen, Homo Sapiens?
Yes. So, as everyone who reads would have heard of this book, and it's written by Professor Yuval Noah Harari. He's again one of my second favorite authors, and
Yes.
it has been one, if not the most, one of the most revolutionary works on, historical literature that exists today, because
Okay.
it looks at history from a very, very, very different perspective, and it has been recommended by so many celebrities and scholars all across the globe.
Yes.
Maybe those who have read it have always said that it's amongst their top 10 favorite books of all time, like Bill
It's a
Gates, Mark Zuckerberg.
yeah.
And it provides a very scientific perspective on the history, anthropology, and sociology of humans through
Oh
three
wow.
revolutions.
Hmm.
And it answers a lot of our questions that we have, like who are we, where do we come from, what has made us how we are today, that hum aise kyun hai. And
Hmm.
so the three revolution that he describes is, the first one is a cognitive revolution, which began 70,000 years ago, followed by the agriculture revolution some 12,000 years ago, and finally the scientific revolution some 500 years ago. And these revolutions shaped us humans as we are today and changed the planet that we inhabit. And
Hmm.
it also gives us not just an insight into how we have transformed ourselves, our beliefs, our lifestyles, our imagined orders and realities, but with each revolution we come face to face with some of the key dilemmas and choices that we face today and probably what we are going to face in the coming
Hmm.
time. And
Yeah.
the discussion on this book can be so vast and so deep. So I've just chosen the first part of the graphic book that mainly includes the birth of humankind and the cognitive revolution.
Okay. So, Aman, why do you think that you should think like a monk?
So why you should think like a monk is just not just a question. It's a thing that everyone should adopt. As I say, you don't have to live like a monk to think like a monk. We can adopt some things that day to day life. We always complain about that we don't get time for things that we have to change ourselves. But in this book, we can learn the simple methods that it's only in mind. That limit exists only in mind. So you have to just pick some things, and that things hold you to do something more because of the comfort that we are living today. And if you think like a monk is something that you have to get up yourself from that comfort zone, and you have to think like that there are something so many things in this world that you didn't explore yet. So that's why I think like a monk. We have to think like a monk because there are so many things in our mind that we can't describe through books or everything or anything. You just have to sit and look within yourself that what's the flaws and what the good thing you have, so that you can work on the flaws, and you can share the good things to the others. So yeah.
So, what do you have to say on this, Dr. Mona, about you have to think, within yourself and accordingly react or act, I should say. How much do
So,
you agree on this?
yes, I mean, about the what Aman said.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's it's all within us. Only, as he rightly said, we have to explore it out and bring it out.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's entirely a entire process and journey within our own self, I guess, which we need
Yes.
to prepare. So, Dr. Mona, a question comes to you now related to your book. What exactly is this book about, which has created storm across the international reading community and thinkers? I think you partly answered this question.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to add upon?
So yes, basically it's it as I already said, it gives you a lot of perspective about not just history, because we always feel history as a boring subject.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
if someone would have taught me history in this way, as Professor Yuval does in his book, I think I would have been an historian too, not a doctor.
For
So it
again, you're
really
already a
gives a lot of perspectives on how we are today, why we are so, what made us think, because so many things that the book explores. I mean, I could not sleep the day I read the book. So
Mhm.
it made me think so much. So as we go ahead with the discussion, I would be happy to share more about the book.
Yeah, sure, we would love to because the topic is quite intrigued in itself. Both of the topics that both of you have chosen, I think, are in itself quite deep. So, Aman, why is it important to find out your true identity?
So true identity is something that explain your personality. That if you are going somewhere, I will give you the example of the great Swami Vivekananda. So at that time, at Vivekananda time, there is no cameras or photos available, so that every person would know who's Swami Vivekananda. So there is no pictures, no posters. But the person, if there is a seminar hall and everyone is coming to the suits, wearing suits and beautiful sarees and all, so there are so many messed up that how we can identify the Mr. Swami Vivekananda. But the aura of the Swami Vivekananda when he entered to the room, the aura is so powerful that every person get to know about him, that this person is only Swami Vivekananda because of the attire he carries and the confidence he carries. So that's the true identity. If you can't believe that you are confident, you will be that disappointment that you can't do anything. So you have to be that powerful about your attire, and you're confident. So that's depict your true identity.
Okay. So, Dr. Shroff, Homo sapiens, okay, quite interesting topic as it is. By what measures is Homo sapiens the dominant species on planet Earth?
So we were not so 70,000 years ago. We were
Okay.
like all the normal species, and even in the Homo species, there were a lot of Neanderthals, and there were other species which gradually became extinct. So,
Okay.
why our species grew, or what is the perspective of success of Homo sapiens, is what is explored in the book. And there are two perspectives that Professor Harari describes. So,
Hmm.
you can describe the success of Homo sapiens by one, by the total number and growth of the species. So, by just by the sheer number of population that we are growing.
Okay.
But the counter view, I mean, whether we can call it a success or not is debatable, because it gives a very macro view. So
Yeah.
just number, if you are growing, it ignores the stress and suffering at the individual levels.
Okay.
So maybe we are growing in numbers, but we are suffering at individual levels. That is what he tries to say. And the
Hmm.
second perspective of the success of Homo sapiens is by the increasing control of Homo sapiens over the environment around us. Now, by both these perspectives, again, both these perspectives are, whether to call it as a success is what he leaves to us, but that is what led to success. And so now we have reached the moon, we have developed nuclear warheads, we have developed complex mathematical formulas about subatomic particles and physics and everything. But
Hmm.
exactly what led us to this is what he describes as large scale cooperation. So,
Okay.
no other species on the planet can form large groups and cooperate in large groups as human beings can. So maybe he said that chimpanzees can only form a group of say 50. Some others can only form some animals, are only solo. So they cannot even form a single group. They just live on their own. So
Yeah.
basically, we were in the middle of food chain somewhere, and we leap to the top of the food chain very rapidly, so rapidly that neither were we Homo sapiens were prepared for it, and neither the rest of the food chain was prepared, and which made us very anxious and stressed and insecure that maybe we may be replaced someday. And this led us to large scale ecological destruction and wars. And in terms of personal changes which led to success or changes in our Homo sapiens, was the advent of fire and cooking.
Hmm.
So that led us to, smaller and smaller intestines and larger brains. And
Hmm.
as our brains grew, we became more dominant, at the same time, more intolerant of other species. And we were always very insecure and intolerant of other species. And in the absence of other species, even our ego grew. We started feeling that we are the epitome of creation, and we are different from the rest of the population or rest of the ecosystem. So basically, the success of Homo sapiens was due to the cognitive revolution, that is our ability to cooperate in large numbers. And
Hmm.
I'll come to more on this, but so
Yeah.
that is
We would
basically
love
our
to hear it.
reason for success.
Yeah, yeah. We would love to hear more of it because I can see the depth which is there inside you regarding the book, and it's actually enlightening us too. So, Aman, just a quick question to you as well. So, do you think it is important to remove negativity? And can your right intention give you satisfaction?
So about negativity, I would like to say that every person is always surrounded by some negativity. It's a person, or it's a thing, or it's a weather, or it's a food, whatever. But negativity is always there. So in my case, that I am an architecture student, so I would say that I have so many negative teachers in my college, because whatever we work, whatever we do, whatever we design, they always say this is not worthy. You have to think out of the box, you have to think out of the box. We used to stay 3 to 4 days without any sleep. We only sleep 2 or 3 hours, and after that work they always say this is not worthy. So we feel so dull from inside, that really we are so that we can't do anything in this life, that a simple project can make us so negative. So I start thinking that there is something bad in me, that's why the teacher is saying that. So I just putting that to my mother, and she said that the teacher is a that they have such a critical profession, that they have to say that bad words to the students, so that he can really think out of the box, so he can grow and grow. So that's why then I started thinking that no, I am doing the best thing out of me, but their job, that they have to tell us that what is wrong and what is not. So negativity is always there. You have to think from our mind that we have to adopt it, or we have to just keep killing us. So negativity, you have to prove yourself that this is the wrong and this is the right. You have to understand that if the third person coming into your life and saying that you can't do this, you don't have to believe that person, because you know till birth, till now, you are the only one brain that guiding you and supporting you, and wherever you go, you know what you have experienced. So you can't take the note that from third person that you are so bad. So that's the negativity. So there is one rule in the book, that 25-75 rule, that you have to spend 25% of that to the negative people, that my teachers, I have to deal with them. I can't say that I will not come to the college, I don't want a degree, I have to deal with them. So that part will become on the 25 percent, and 75% about your family, your friends, the pab members. Actually pab family, I love spending time. I never skip any meeting, because I love the vibes, the positivity, the sharings, the surroundings. I love everything. So that's part coming to the 75%. So just divide the things and use it according to your way. You don't have to listen to the other person and other perspective. Just be yourself and go through the flow. So yeah.
I'm glad to hear that we are also contributing in some or the other manner for developing your right intention perspective. So that's great. So, Dr. Mona, Dr.
Yes.
Harari describes several circumstances where we can see the impact of evolution in current day behaviors. Were any of them particularly significant, interesting, or surprising, highlighting a connection you hadn't considered before?
Yes, quite a few, I can say. And as I already described earlier, the ability to cooperate in a large number was the reason for the cognitive revolution. But what exactly happened? How could we cooperate in large numbers? So that is something which this thing which struck me as very the concept that struck me was that human beings develop stories. So it was a common myth that made us cooperate in large numbers. And Professor Harari describes the concept of dual reality. So Homo sapiens have been living in dual reality. One is an objective reality, which means trees, animals, winds, mountains, rivers, which are actually there for us to see, to feel, to touch, and they are real. And the
Yeah.
second is a fictional or imagined reality. So it's a myth, it's a common myth, and it's a collective myth. So all of us believe that it is true, but actually it's fiction, it's a story, it's an imagined reality. For example, gods, religion. Have you ever seen a god? Have you ever touched a god? Have you, I mean, So those imagined reality are something which this struck me a lot, because like money, like human rights, like the concept of nations, they were never there. The whole world was a huge big nation. So
Mm.
those imagined reality are only there in our collective imagination, and it's a collective myth which we call as fiction. Now
Yeah.
both the sides are important. So it's not, we cannot always live in a objective reality. And why, what is the need for this imagined reality is that uh, it keeps adapting and evolving in our collective imagination and consciousness, which helped us to climb the ladder of success due to the it helps in the collective consciousness and collective cooperation. The
Yeah. So
second,
I would yeah,
yeah, the
sorry.
second that physically happened was, which I said, intestines grew smaller, brain increased, we developed an erect posture, so
Mm.
our pelvis became smaller.
Yeah.
And this led to, again, this is interesting, because this led to a shortened gestation period. So from my being a gynec, it was very interesting for me how
Yeah.
the smaller pelvis, and it led to a shorter gestation period. So we
Yeah.
human beings are inadvertently delivered premature.
Mm.
And what happens is, if you are developed earlier because of the shortened gestation, your brain
Mm.
has not developed full maturity.
Yeah.
And what happens because of this? Social skills became mandatory and became a norm. So human
Mm.
babies require a lot of care till they become independent and till their brains achieve maturity. Most of
Acha.
the other species babies are not requiring so much of care in the neonatal period as human babies.
Yeah.
True.
So and he describes agriculture revolution, which is mainly included in the part 2 of the series, but
Mm-hmm.
the agriculture revolution as the biggest hoax or biggest fraud of human history. So we always believe that agriculture is what made us what we are, but it's the biggest fraud and hoax, and I think it's in another scope for another discussion. But because it led to more people being domesticated, so we started
Mm.
staying in a local area because we are doing agriculture, and because of that we multiplied very fast, because you're staying in one place, you produce more kids,
Yeah.
requiring more social skills, requiring more food, again more
Mm.
agriculture. So it
Mm.
was not humans who domesticated the plants, it was the reverse. And three key unifiers. It's something which is very thought provoking. What unites the Homo sapiens are three key unifiers. One is,
Okay.
can you guess what could be it? So one is religion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I will come to the other side of the coin, but one is religion, which unifies.
Hmm.
Second is nationality or empire,
Hmm.
and the third is money. And
Okay.
he said that money is the most secular of everything, because it doesn't see, it's the most dominant thing which makes human being trust another human being.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what, and these things struck me very badly, because we always felt, we never thought it as fiction.
Hmm.
It's a
It's a common
completely
thing which we believe,
different.
we tend to believe that it's there.
So a completely different perspective actually of building your own concepts in terms of how we have evolved. Very
Hmm.
interesting, definitely very, very interesting. And one more thing which I liked was the combination of objective reality and imaginative reality that you said. Because I think because of imaginative reality only we have so many of, we are filled, our brain is filled with so much of resources of ideas. Because of which we actually, as you said, we climb the ladder of success. So that's
Hmm.
how it comes from imagination. Very interesting. So now, Aman, what do you think about specific location for specific tasks?
So before answering that question, I would like to say something about Mona ma'am. That you said that every in nature, every every animal, they have something in their life, that in polar region the polar bears are there, so they can be survive in our Indian region. So there is something speciality that nature given to the that particular animal. So that's why I thought that what human got to know, what human get. So I thought a lot, then I got to know that we got the brain and how we are using it and how to make it sharper. So we have to do something that make the humans and the animals from the different categories. So I like that part, so I am looking forward to know more and more about that, what is sapiens, and what the brief history of humankind. So I liking it.
Yeah, and the way the evolution that she's described it so beautifully, the way we've evolved, the
Yeah,
posture, the, and how we got ourselves erected, and then the
yeah,
entire. It's, yeah, very interesting and quite scientifically and logically related with. So that's the beauty, I think, of this book, that it is logically, scientifically connecting every idea, every belief which is there. So it's like
yeah.
more convincing then.
Hmm.
So yes, question: what do you think about specific location for specific tasks, someone?
So yeah, so specific task for the specific location is always there. Like if I said to you, you have to cook in your bedroom, would you like to cook in your bedroom? No, because it is not dedicated for the cooking area. And if I said that you have to sleep in your washroom, we can do that in the morning, but generally we can't do it every day. So every space is dedicated for every particular thing. So if you want to dedicate something like meditation, you have to dedicate some space for that thing, so that only you can evolve that powerful mindfulness, because it required the positive energies from surroundings. That if suppose I am doing meditation, so I have to be surrounded by the ventilation, so that I can breathe easily. The things that are surrounding myself, that should be something glass or a ceramic, so that location will make my task more meaningful. So that's why I said that every task is dedicated for the location. So we have to be spread that thing, that if we have to achieve something, just dedicated to it a time period, and just do it at the particular time. As the alarm, the example of alarm, if you every day waking up at the 6 in the morning because of the alarm, but after some day, that sunday we know that there is no nothing we have to do, just we have to sleep, then we put our alarm to the off. Then in sunday also you get to wake up at the same time that you are waking up at the regular days. So that's the power of your mind, that there is a trigger that have to switch on, so that you doing the same thing, just you have to train that. So you are training it to the particular location, particular task. So that's why.
Yeah, so I completely believe in that, because a specific place, if you have for specific work, I think you can really do well there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just juxtaposed with everything, and then you become a confused personality. I agree
Yeah.
completely. So, Dr. Mona, what about the negative impacts of this ability to modify behavior? How important you think is education system to transmit these shared beliefs to future generations? I think very important for us to relate the beliefs that the author has given you through the book, Dr. Shroff, that how you think that we can transmit it to education system or through our education, paraphernalia to future generation.
So basically, as we talked of the two realities, when imagined reality becomes more and more powerful, we tend to forget that it is just a tool to serve our needs of cooperation, and instead we become slaves to those tools. Hasn't it been happening all the time, like when we, for example, internet or computers? So it initially began to help us, for some of our needs, but slowly we become slaves to those tools. Now, for example, why did the German and French fight the world war?
Hmm.
Were they short of food or territory? Were they, hungry, or were they not having enough properties or territories? No. So it's it's the fictional concept of a nation and a fictional concept of some imagined reality which made them fight the world war.
Hmm.
So the author says that, for the sake of fiction, I mean, a nation as a nation, if you see, nation is something which is not a real. So
mm,
a nation is not going to suffer if you lose the war.
Hmm.
Who is going to suffer? The real people,
Yeah.
the real
mm,
individuals who have lost their lives or who have become invalid. And long before the industrial revolutions, Homo sapiens have a very bad, dubious record of driving most plants and animal species to extinction. And
mm,
we have been labeled as the deadliest species in the annals of history and biology. So, those things have to be taught to the new generation to understand the basic perspective of why certain things happen in history. And talking about the some of, like, basically when our ancestors, even for religion, the author gives a very different perspective. So basically, when our ancestors who were hunter gatherers, foragers,
mm,
they were not agriculturalists, and they had no difference between humans and other species, so they felt they were anihilists. So anihism is non-religious, and they believed that humans and other species of nature are all equal. So you, if you see, long back, there were speeches, songs, dance, and ceremonies which celebrate this relation between human and nature.
Hmm.
And
mm,
they believed that they could communicate with the plants, and the plants and animals could, and natural phenomenon could communicate with them through
Hmm.
these dances and songs and ceremonies. But with agriculture revolution, why it is the biggest hoax, it led to the domestication and control of plants and animals.
Hmm.
So now they are no longer our equals.
Hmm.
And
mm,
as they are no longer our equals, so slowly the human beings started believing that, in the concept that the whole setup on this earth is based on a hierarchical relation between humans and a very small group of very powerful entities whom we call as gods.
Yeah.
mm,
And religion asserts that our laws are ordained by this absolute and superhuman authority, and pushing some laws beyond challenge
Hmm.
means, and no one dares to challenge those laws because we believe that they are absolute. On the contrary, history should be taught as in these collective myths should be evolving with time. I
Hmm.
mean, you
mm,
can't go on believing what uh, 2000, 5000 years ago people would be believing.
Hmm.
So you have to evolve over time. The positive side of it is, it, as we already discussed, it helps us in developing a moral life and a social order. So if we believe in the myth of a nation, we
mm,
believe that our nation has a constitution and we have to follow. So that the positive side is that it helps us lead a more moral life with a proper social order, which is of course necessary. The other thing that imagined god or religion, is the side of it is that basically there has always been an unnatural inequality in humans. No one can be equally rich, no one can be equally poor, no one can be, there is always going to be an inequality in humans.
true.
And so some of us are going to be defeated, some of us are going to be poor, some of us are going to be less fortunate. And what a supernatural hope in terms of an imagined myth of a god is our only hope for those people, or the sole alternative for those people to despair. So
Hmm.
if you destroy that myth, it might lead to cultural and class wars.
Hmm.
So to avoid those inequality and the related problems, this helps. So by understanding our history and by teaching our next generation how we became dominant, we can, broaden our perspectives to understand our future better
Hmm.
and our present situation better.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're trying to say is that if we read history, if we study history, or if we try to imbibe certain curriculum of history for our present day and the future generation, I think things will change, mindsets will change, and the kind of issues that we are facing globally and nationally, I think there also a lot of new perspective will be formed. Yeah, by the, I guess, younger people, the children and the youth. And that is what is required, and I think need of the hour.
True.
As far as what I've understood, what you're trying to talk to us about,
We have to
Chaitanya.
be very clear that it is a myth. So
Hmm.
you can't sacrifice real objective reality for fictional reality.
Which
Hmm.
unfortunately
There
we've
has to
already
be a
started doing.
balance. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have already started doing it actually, just because we don't have this demarcation and distinguished
True.
factor between the. Yeah, very true. So, what do you think is the purpose of religion in society? If we talk about society as such and religion.
Uh, so yes, I spoke about the positive aspects of religion because it will help you, those who are unequal,
Hmm.
and there is always going to be that. So one advantage of having a religion, so-called religion, which is again
Hmm.
fiction, but still the advantage is that uh, you know the less fortunate can have a hope to, as an alternative to your the inequality in humans. You have
Hmm.
something to hope for and to believe for. Okay, at least somewhere you are equal.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And secondly, it helps us, if it evolves with time, it will help in us leading a more moral and social life.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So basically religion should have that purpose, but then we give an absolute authority to that, and we feel that it cannot be changed. So these laws, so-called laws suggested by religion, are beyond challenge, is wrong.
Hmm. Yes. And I think if we start giving this kind of perspective to the kids from the basic youth, when their minds are developed, or from the basic years of their education, I think there will be a completely different persona when they grow up, and the world will be different what we are looking at. True, very
Very
true,
true.
Dr. I think we all agree with you completely. What a beautiful insight that you've given. How history, how science, and how the mindset can be changed, or are they are interrelated to become a successful person as well as to have a beautiful society and the world, of course. And Aman, if I talk to you about it, so have you ever thought about serving others? Because your book is basically on, how to think like a monk. So a monk means a person who has dedicated their life towards the society. So have
Hmm.
you ever thought about you yourself as serving the society in some or the other form?
Okay, so serving others, I would like to, if we are doing the history stuff, so I will pick, I recall the story of the ancient time that when we had the Gurukuls. So in Gurukuls that there are also admission processes. So I'm talking about the serving. So we have to serve our life to the one dedicated person. So that is the serving. So this story is about the serving. So we have to stick on that. So that's why. So the story begins like that. In ancient time, there would be gurukuls, and the only one teacher used to teach all the 100 or 200 people at the same time. So what happens that the one guruji that tells the student that if you want to come in my university or my gurukul, so you have to complete one task that I will give to you. So whoever the complete the task will be freely entered to my Gurukul. So the task was like there was 100 students come to the Gurukul. So the Guruji gave them the 100 tokens, that the containers that the vendors, vegetable vendors used to sell the vegetables. So that token, the structure of the token is like bamboo kind of a structure, wooden kind of a structure. So they give to all the student and ask them to pick the water from the 50 meters, 50 to 100 meters away from the Gurukul. So they have to pick the water and they have to fill the container. They give the particular container to the each student. So they have to fill that container from the tokeni. So the student amongst them, the chin chatting that how it is possible. There are so many holes in that basket. How we can hold the water on that? But still they have tried, they go to the 50 meter and collect the water, and when they put the water basket on the water, the suddenly water comes down, and they started like, this is impossible, we don't want to get admission in this gurukul, we will search some other guru so that we can get some positive learnings. What, this is nonsense, how we can collect the water? So some student tried 3 or 4 times that there will be something that water can contain, but it is totally impossible. They tried n number of times, but it is totally impossible. So one day over, 2 day over, there are 10 students left, that they decided that I have to complete this task, because that guruji, I know how powerful it is, and if I will serve them, how knowledgeful things I will collect to my life. So that 10 students stick to the basket and collecting the water, and they're just running around, they're collecting, but it is so impossible that they can't even fill the that container even half. So all the student one by one start giving up, but there was only one student left. So this is impossible thing, but that one student know that if I did, I will get to know that this person is the perfect for my life if I serve them. So he completed 1 month with that basket, and continuously he just going and collecting. So at one point, there was a point that if you put a basket, wooden basket, into water, the basket will be expand because of the water, because it's going around and around, so it will expand. So all the gaps that are containing from the basket filled up, and at the last point he just pulled the basket at the water, and the water actually collected. So he got so excited and happy that, wow, I did it. So he just starting that my basket is collecting the water, and he goes and started filling that container. At the end, that container get filled, and that guruji got to his student, and the student got his guru. So serving is something that you have to stick on it. If you want something that that greediness that in our society, that we have business or something, that if you do this work, we will give you money, so that serving have something to earn. But in that era, there is no such things. He just want to serve the guruji and get the knowledge whatever he had. So that serving and today's serving is have a very very vast gap. We can't fill that gap now. So just serve the other without any greediness. Just get the satisfaction, and you will be the happiest person if you are serving. So yeah,
Mhm. So how would you like to serve the society in this manner?
I would
How would
like
you?
that if I get the chance to serve others, I would start guiding them that controlling your mind is the biggest task. So just start step by step meditation, because meditation is only point that not Indians, not foreigners, all over the world or around the world, they are using this techniques to control our mind, because this is so basic. There is no rocket science. You can sit and just 15 to 20 minutes, just concentrate in your breathing. That would be the biggest task for others, but it is the very 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 small task for if you do it consistently. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so glad to be a part of this platform today because both of you, one into motivational reading and the other into again a kind of a challenging and a revolutionary, concept or a thought, and completely, I would say, overwhelmed with both the authors, both of you, and how beautifully and how engrossed you are with the thought process, and you're also trying to imbibe those things in your general day-to-day life. And I'm sure people whosoever you will touch with, I mean, you will get in touch with. I'm sure they will also be a lot of, I would say they will gain a lot of takeaways from you as I'm taking it because I'm fully motivated to read both the books today. I'm going to go and order for myself these two books. And I think I'll also be a part of your video, maybe after some time. I'm so glad to be a part of this platform and having a talk with you guys. There's one more small request which I would like both of you avid readers to do for me. Anything that you would like to quote from the book, each one of you, something which was really gripping and hooking for you, and you think that it's going to stay or I would say that a kind of an impression is going to stay in your mind every time.
So can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to tell two quotes which which kind of it gives a summary to the book. One is that if we understand, the best reason to learn history. So Dr. Professor Harari says that the best reason to learn history is not to predict the future, but to free yourself of the past and imagine our alternative destinies. So it's very profound if you read it, that it is to free yourself of the past and imagine alternative destinies which are very much possible. So this was one quote. And the second one was, uh, we have mastered our surroundings, we have increased the food supplies through we have built cities,
Hmm.
we have established empires, we have created far flung trade networks. But the bottom line or the question is, did we reduce the amount of suffering in the world?
Hmm.
And that is what we should learn from history.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. So what you're saying, I think I completely agree, because history, now after, listening to what you have been telling, Dr. Shraw, so my mind is actually going back to those history lessons where my teacher used to teach me history and I used to find it so boring. But now I think that had we actually been given a perspective of understanding history in that manner, I think the mindset would have completely been different. Now, why I'm saying this to you, because fortunately tomorrow I have also invited in my academy a professor, HOD, head of department of history only, from Rajasthan University. She's going to come, and she's a passionate theatre person. So she's going to talk to my students about how, if you want to become a successful orator, how history and how theatre helps. So that's again a very interesting combination, which I'll be so. And the same thing that you're talking about today about the mindset. So it's correlating very well. Yes, Aman, can we have something from you from the book?
So usually, whenever I complete a book, I used to make a full whiteboard. I have created it. If I can rotate my laptop, so if you see in my background, there is a
Yeah.
whole. I use the whole thing that I learned from the book. So there is a one circle and the stock ladder, success ladder, and quotes and the vocabulary. If there are some words that I want to know about, so I just wrote it down in the background. So if still reading when I'm reading, so I just involve myself into that thing. So that I can put something in my whiteboard. So whenever whoever come into my room can see the thing that I have read and what the learnings from I get from that book. So the quote that I said, that you don't have to live like a monk to think like a monk. You can think like a monk and live like you. So it is very important. Just live like you and train your mind to think like a monk. So yeah.
That's right. And there's one more thing which I'm quite inspired from you, Aman, is that meditation, book reading is meditation for you.
Yeah.
Something which I'm going to take for me. And Dr. Croft, there is one more thing you were talking about, alternative destinies, right? When you spoke about, so I just want you to throw a little more light on alternative destinies as to what exactly do you mean by that?
Because see, you the things that have happened in the over history has happened over very very small changes.
Yeah.
So we were not able to find out at that time that this is what is happening. So
Mhm.
but today, if we go through the history, we know what has happened and where we are heading. So
True.
we have, if we broaden our perspectives, we have more deliberate choices about our future. And we can understand that present situation has not been natural or inevitable. It is what we have done to ourselves. So we have been called intercontinental serial killers, human Homo sapiens. So we have led to wherever humans went, there was an extinction of flora and fauna and ecological disasters. And
Mhm.
we didn't care at that time, and we still don't care. So
True.
we don't understand this war between the ecosystem and Homo sapiens, the author has gone on to write another book, which was Homo Deus, that is about the future.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe someday we can, we can. I have yet to read that book, but
Okay.
I that's in my next agenda,
Yeah.
reading agenda. So
A lot
that's
of take.
about. He feels that we are going to lead ourselves to disaster soon
Hmm.
if we
What
don't
you're
wake
saying,
up.
we are, and we are. We can see also in the near future if we don't change the way we think. I think we can very soon see that what you're saying could be evitable also. Yeah. So I believe the takeaway which I'm taking from the quote, Dr. Shroff, is that if you have broadened your perspectives, alternative destinies will fall in line, right? You will be able to understand that how well you can have your backups as far as destinies are concerned, and things are there in front of us. Amazing. Thank you so much for both of you for taking out time and having an interaction and giving us such lovely insights, such broadened perspectives, I would say, so that we also have some alternative ways and methods of looking at things and probably changing our mindset to a certain level as well. Thank you so much for being here on this platform. I'm really honored to be a part of this. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
night.
so much.
Stay safe.
And just one last suggestion for Aman was that you can make some infographics of what you're putting on your whiteboard.
Yeah.
It will give a
I
positive
have I
print.
have
Please share with all of us.
Yeah, I
So
have
Yeah.
the full presentation on that. I have
yeah.
created 22 slides on the book only. So I have presented it in my pab also, in a weekly meeting, and I have presented into my college also. So whatever I liked, I used to make it graphically as a student of architecture. So
Because that infographic, it's a quick revision
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
So
yeah. So I would like to share my presentation. I will give it to you.
sure, would
Yeah,
love to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye. Good
Thank you.
night.
Good
Good
night.
Here.
night.
Is that okay? Shall we leave?